Hi there, I want to tell you something a bit different from normal, and it relates to a guy some of you might have seen around, called Grant Cardone. He's been on telly, on Discovery Channel, and Grant Cardone, I think it says Grant Cardone. So the thing you have to remember is grantcardone.com/virtual. Why? This seems to be an interesting thing. I'm going to tell you about his conference, which is free of charge from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this Easter week. Okay, so it's live streaming, and that's the thing. But I will preface it by saying this. In the States, you will know, a man who came from here in Gosport is Graham Cook, Prophet Graham Cook. Now, Graham has been led, it seems, to the wonderful world of business consulting and business exhortation and getting people going and motivated and confident. And this he is twinned with another guy who I've forgotten the name of, and they both work a business model. Now, whether this is just temporary, whether it's just uniquely for Graham Cook, I would just say that King David had a brief period of his life working for Philistines, working for the very enemy. So it's not quite like that here, I don't think. But this is just a principle that, isn't it? It's obvious our education isn't entirely in Israel, isn't entirely in the church. Some of what is being built into us, especially in the times where we have such an immature church worldwide, that basically synagogues all over the world, with one rabbi preaching a message of injunctions, and the only difference with the charismatic churches is, certainly in the larger models, is a time of worship which is to a greater or lesser realm of freedom. But essentially, that's what we have all over the earth. And today, right now, we'll have people in churches, but the model is a synagogue. After 2,000 years, after Jesus laid his life down for 42 months into 12 lives, and gave us the best example possible in Acts of what ecclesia, what he means by the word ecclesia, or city on a hill, or light on a hill. All we can do is create old covenant synagogues, rabbi synagogues, solo pyramid synagogues, with an Egyptian pharaoh that we call pastor. Now, Israel chose kings. And God said to Samuel, "It's not you they have rejected, Samuel. It is me." So think what he would say in every church. Knowing that the pattern has been laid down for us perfectly in every gospel about the training, the sort of training that's involved, and then Acts, the perfect blueprint. We're shown what an ecclesia is. So what do? Well, in the worst case, we become like Catholics. And we take down the whole priesthood off the cross that was hammered into his nailed into his hands and feet. The old covenant, which was nailed to Jesus on the cross. They take it down, they rebuild it, and they build a tiered priesthood. This is Catholics. Was it 2 billion, 1.2 billion? What? How many Catholics are in the earth? 2 billion, is it? And this is what they do. Deliberately spit in the face of Jesus on Easter weekend and say, no, it's not good enough for us. We want structure. We want the comfort. We want to look to the natural with our natural eyes. We want to resurrect the old covenant, Jesus. Sorry. And they spit in Jesus' face as he's dying on the cross. And they form a priesthood, a tiered, hierarchical priesthood under a person they call Father or Pope. When Jesus says, call no man Father. But this is what Catholics do. They don't care about Jesus' feelings. They don't care about Jesus. They care more about Mary. Mary must be revered, but Jesus, they don't want to listen to a word he said. And they even, for several centuries, didn't even allow people to read the Bible in case people would see from the Bible that they were talking a load of lies. So this is the Catholic Church. I'm saying the extreme of the Catholic Church, because obviously there's a load of good stuff going on there too. Human beings are in the Catholic Church. But these things are important because it has had a carry through to us. So we now, all over the world, regardless of how lively we are in Christ, because nobody is really pressed on to 1 John 2, third stage of growth. You can count them on the fingers of your hand, people like that, and they're usually in all our world conferences, our Christian conferences. They're overworked because there's so few in the earth. Because at no point did the gospel ever get spelt out. We said the two phrases, if you abide in my word, then, and only then, are you truly my disciples. And you will really know the truth, the one truth. The truth about Genesis 3, the truth about who Christ has made you, and you will be set free if you hang in there. The second phrase that's missing from our gospel is, unless you fall into the ground like a grain, you will dwell alone. So what do we have all over the world? Every single church is run by a loner who's in charge of everybody else. And it's what people expect because we've all grown up in Satan's kingdom. So we build Satan's kingdom into God's church. Just like Jews built Satan's kingdom into their own nation. So this is what we have all over the earth. Not only that, we all meet on the day of the God of the sun. It's what we do all over the earth. So instead, we must read the Bible. We must learn the blueprint. So, it seems to me, since we don't have proper examples of what Paul was saying, which is, would that you were kings. Would that you were kings. Then we would rule with you. As there's no example of that in the earth, it seems that part of our training has to now be in amongst the Philistines, or the equivalent, in amongst the Genesis 3 system. We have to learn a few things of how the world do things. Jesus says about the world system, they are more shrewd than the sons of light. They are more shrewd than the sons of light. So therefore, maybe we have to do something like spend a bit of time this week with grantcardone.com/virtual. Since, do you know the cost? The ticket price to this event? It's cost him $11 million to put on. And the cost to the ticket price is $2,000 per person. But then that's quite ordinary for Americans, running any Christian conference. But that's 3 days. But it's being made available free online. Imagine that. It's free all over the world online. It's such an event that he hasn't even put who's speaking. Now, everybody in all conferences usually put who's speaking. The thing is so big, he hasn't even mentioned the speakers. It's unbelievable. So it begins at American time, I think it's 9 till 6, American EST, Eastern Time, Eastern Standard Time, at 9 o'clock Tuesday morning, goes on till 6. And I think all 3 days are 9 till 6. But it seems like maybe this is what God will use to wake us up. I've just had my last, I really lost my rag just now. I've just had hopefully my last ever pastor contacting me on Messenger for money or help so that he can build another smelly synagogue with him as pastor or whoever, running their little old covenant synagogue with tongues, with a bit of worship. But he is the Pharaoh pastor. And will I support him? Will I pay him? Will I pay this thing to be in existence? Or can I ask my friends on Facebook to help pay for this synagogue, this Old Testament 2,000-year-old synagogue with tongues, so that he can have another clubhouse in his little village or town in Kenya? There's clubhouses up and down Kenya in every town. But by getting vision in the conference for whatever it will lead us on to, actually, a person like Justine Samba's watching this, but Justine Samba is well on the way to being able to talk in these sort of conferences with the authority level that God has been building in him. And that's what has to be built in all the pastors everywhere. Not these smelly little clubhouses that teach people the first 2 parts of the gospel, but they don't bother with the rest. They never become kings. If you were kings, you'd be speaking into being a church, the only solo church in that place, because there's only one Jesus. You'd have the full gospel message of 1 John 2, and you wouldn't be playing around, asking people thousands of miles away because your nation is so crap. Because you'd have authority to speak into Nairobi and say, get in line with the international standards. I don't care if you're a Christian, but you're still complying with the IMF. You're still doing everything the IMF tell you. You're a little puppet. I don't care if you're a Christian in Kenya. Tell him that. And his wife's a teacher. They're well known. Christian teachers. But it doesn't matter. If they can't get in line, then get someone who does. Because there's an international law about what is expected of each government to be providing the citizens. And I, for one, am fed up of being on the receiving end every day from Messenger of asking for requests for money because your smelly government can't do what it's meant to be doing. It's not my thing to do. It's got nothing to do with me. Every morning I wake up with these stupid messages. Rise up yourselves. Watch the Grant Cardone thing and you will discover a man who started with nothing. Much like Benson Idahosa. Benson Idahosa started polishing shoes. He started with nothing. So that's being provided for all of us, free. So I would suggest trying to watch as much as you can in amongst whatever you've got. I don't know how much data signal you have over there in Kenya or in other places, but if at all possible, try and do that.